Rachel Maddow has done lots of reporting on Donald Trump's ties to a bank that paid a hefty fine for laundering money for Russians. But do the tax returns prove anything? My guest is NECN legal analyst Michael Coyne. He's the dean of the Massachusetts School of Law. Welcome. What juicy stuff here, huh?
It sure is.
All right, so do the tax returns that we saw last night show any connection to any sort of money laundering?
No, not likely. 2 pages of a tax return, especially a tax return that's likely as extensive as President Trump's, isn't really going to tell us where the money came from and how it originated through the system. And that's the important thing. With respect to money laundering, what you're trying to show is what the origins and ownership of these funds were and how they wound their way through the system, in essence, to take dirty money and make it clean.
People don't understand that concept because they live legal lives.
That's
exactly.
right.
You know, so if I get money illegally, say I sell drugs, right? And I have suddenly $1 million in money I earned from selling drugs. What do I need to do with that money to decrease people looking at me wondering where I got that money?
Well, there's a lot of things you have to do with it. First of all, you have to report the income to the IRS. So IRS statutes are involved, and there are criminal penalties, obviously, as part of that.
So even though I made the money illegally, I have to find a way to report it as income?
It's actually how they got Al Capone all those years ago, is that he was ultimately convicted on tax evasion. What happens is that you take illegally gotten gains, and you have to somehow try to show that there's a legitimate source for that money. And so what you do is either through foreign banks or legitimate businesses, you work that money through the system so that by the time it ends up in a bank account that you can use, it's virtually impossible to trace where that money originated from and what its origin was with respect to whether it was legal activity or illegal activity.
Fans of Breaking Bad will know that he owned a cash car wash in order to try and make that money seem clean. A car wash worked out well there. Talk about the ties, though, with the Taj Mahal casino that Donald Trump owned and what happened there, and that's sort of the reason why many people are suspicious about money laundering when it comes to the Trump industries.
Well, the Trump Taj Mahal paid and agreed to pay a significant fine because the federal government charged it with money laundering. It felt, and it correctly obviously, that the Taj Mahal in New Jersey was not properly reporting the money, was not properly reporting who it gave the funds to, and on an incredibly wide scale was not complying with both IRS regulations, Department of the Treasury, and if you start to think about it, there are Patriot Act problems as well. So there are a number of federal agencies and statutes that are ultimately involved. And what the Trump Taj Mahal did ultimately went into bankruptcy and agreed to pay a heavy fine as part of the violations of the money laundering acts that it was charged with. As at the end of the day,
they were gone, so they didn't have to pay as much. All right, let's just talk quickly about the legality of getting the tax returns. Were any laws broken with Rachel Maddow getting those tax returns and showing them on television?
Likely, yes, actually. There's a 5-year in prison and a $5,000 fine for anyone who either discloses someone's tax returns, publishes it in any way, or solicits someone to do that. Now, you've got an argument about the First Amendment and the media's right to access this essential information, but the problem is that there are a number of federal statutes that are directly on point with respect to it. So she doesn't necessarily have to solicit it or encourage someone else to disclose it, but it has in fact been published. There's an argument that there is a violation of the IRS statutes that make it a punishable offense by 5 years and $5,000 fine.
Are there any laws on the books that are equal to, say, hackers who hack into the DNC and show those records, or Sony hacking? You know, I mean, we seem to be in a situation where people are breaking the law to get the news information, and then we broadcast the news and we're accused of breaking the law.
It's wire fraud if you think about it, the interception of those communications. The problem with really good hackers is try to figure out where they're at and who actually did it. That's where the problem comes in. It's the publishing, though, is still, we know who's publishing it, and there actually are problems with respect to that.
All right, Michael Coyne, thanks for coming in. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks.